got all the insulation in. Didn't break any new ground, did what most people do. Cut the pieces to size, put construction adhesive on the back, used 2x4s to wedge it up, and while it was actually being held in place by the 2x4s, I then used spray foam to line everything, getting out all the cracks and crevices, hoping that once it cured, it would hold everything up, which it actually did. So, it's doing a good job doing that. So I'll show you everything here. Show you full shot, so you can see that it all stays up nice and tight to the roof there. The roof, a little bit different than a Sprinter. Sprinter seems to kind of run straight the whole way, but on this Transit, it dips down here to that rib. So I'm not going to run it all the way down to the bottom of that rib. I'm actually going to have my boards run up to this point, so it's going to run down there. So I've seen a couple of Transits that have been converted, but I haven't seen anybody really talk about this. So basically, with the insulation, it was 1 inch thick. So once I got over here, so it wasn't sticking down too far, I basically trimmed it. It looks like a hatchet job because it is a hatchet job, but it's all going to be hidden anyway. So yeah, and then right there, that's actually speaker wire. So I'm going to end up having a speaker in that side and over here. And these are going to be attached to the front, so we don't just have the 2 stock speakers. All right, so I'm at the point now where all of the Reflectix is almost put up, and you can see I've got some strips of plywood that I attached to the ribs of the van to do 2 things. One, hold the Reflectix up in place, so when I'm putting the ceiling up, it'll be a little bit easier. And secondly, there was some holes and gaps in some of the ribs, and just thought it'd be a little bit easier if I had wood to screw into. So that's where I'm at now. But the main reason I wanted to shoot this next little part is for people that have a Transit and they have this wire in the back. What I'm gonna do is basically tuck this up on this line and then put a piece of wood. I'll show you the wood. I'm gonna put this piece of wood up that I have notched out, and that's gonna sit up there, and then this will give me something to screw in because I've got the boat hatch here. I didn't really have anywhere to screw in these short little pieces that are gonna go from here to here for the ceiling. Because I'm gonna be tucking that up here, I drilled these 3 new holes, and what that's gonna be for is right back here is your brake light. So it was coming down through here, but I'm gonna have this all covered up hopefully. So now I've got an access point to run my wire to my brake light, and then over here I am gonna end up keeping these 2 lights in, so it'll be access to drop the wires back behind there and connect those up. Well, as you can see, we're done. Ceiling is up, and I am super happy with the results. And it went up pretty easy. The only thing that was a challenge was the front, which I'll show you here in a second. But other than that, you know, it was smooth sailing. I ended up using 2 full boxes, which I can supply the link to, and just barely made it. So yeah, I ended up having no more long pieces. I have some cutoff pieces, but really the only thing that was tricky was the front here. So you can see it kind of curves up, and then on the sides it curves out. So it's almost like a bowl effect in the front, which made it, especially as I got to either side, more challenging to get the pieces up there. So if you have a Transit and you're gonna do the same thing, my suggestion would be of course I figured this out in the very last piece, was I had to get basically this piece in, and it was kind of tough to wedge up, then get into the tongue or the groove, whichever one was on that side. But what I ended up doing was basically starting it here, and then I just took a mallet and tapped it down, and it just kind of ran down the line and then squirted right in there. And of course, like I said, figured that out at the end. Yeah, anyways, it turned out great. I'm super excited with it. The ribs that I ended up putting the plywood on to screw into, I'm really glad I did. As I said before, I didn't want to because I really wanted to try to keep this as high as possible, but it was like 1/4 inch ply, and with it, I think I cut in 4 inch width. It really made it easier to hold this up and screw into wood rather than trying to find metal, especially since those were, have a bunch of gaps in them and that. So yeah, so happy I did that. And the only other thing that I kind of didn't show you was in this middle piece, you have a rib that's here, and then there's not one kind of in the middle. It waits a little bit till you get over to this side. So this length was about almost 4 feet, and it was a little bit long that this was kind of sagging just a tidbit because this is pretty thin pine. So what I did was I ended up going to Home Depot and getting I think it was 1/2 inch, may have been 3/4 inch, but I think it was 1/2 inch tube, like aluminum tube, and ended up just kind of attaching it. As I got to basically this one, you can see the screws in the middle here. I wedged that piece up there and attached it to the ribs, and then that gave me at least something in the middle here to make this a little bit more taut to the roof line, so it didn't sag as much. Because I thought over time, if it's already kind of sagging a little bit, it could be worse for the as time goes. So I think that helped by giving it at least one firm board here. It kind of helped tie those in, and then the side pieces. And I actually ended up doing 4 of those. So I did one, 3 boards in, then 1 here, then 1 there, and then so I ended up doing 4, which may have been overkill, but I figured I did not want to have to do this process again. But anyways, that was it. Other than that, like I said, smooth sailing, and the next step here is to do the walls.